Welcome back. I am your host, Susanna May O'Hagan, and today we are talking about X-Men Revolution. X-Men Revolution is an American animated television series based on the superhero series X-Men, published by Marvel Comics. Taking inspiration from the early issue of the original comics, the series portrays the X-Men as teenagers rather than adults, following their struggle to control their mutant powers as they face various threats and backlash. X-Men Revolution ran for a total of 4 seasons, comprising of 52 episodes in total from November 4th, 2000 to October 25th, 2003 on Kids WB, making it the third longest running Marvel comic animated series of all time, behind Fox Kids X-Men animated series and Spider-Man. Season 1 through 3 aired on Cartoon Network from August 31st, 2001 to May 27th, 2003. Plot: the first season introduced the core characters of the series. The titular team, founded by Professor Charles Xavier, competes with Mystique to recruit young mutants with newly discovered superpowers to their case. At the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, the X-Men are taught by Xavier, Wolverine, and Storm to control their abilities and keep them hidden from the rest of the society, whilst attending high school in the fictional upper state New York town of Bayside. Their ranks grow over the course of this season and ultimately include Cyclops, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, Shadowcat, Spike, and Rogue, who is initially manipulated into joining Mystique's Brotherhood of Bayville. While the X-Men teach their recruits to exercise restraint and uphold responsibility, Mystique encourages the Brotherhood to recklessly use their powers for selfishness gain. The juvenile delinquents inducted into the Brotherhood consist of Avalanche, Toad, Blob, and Quicksilver. The mastermind behind Mystique and the Brotherhood is eventually revealed to be Magneto, a shady and mysterious figure from Xavier's past who seeks to enable mutants to replace humans as the dominant species on the planet. Nightcrawler also learns that he is Mystique's biological son, who has lost to her long ago due to Magneto's interference. Other villains in this series are Wolverine's old rival Sabretooth, Xavier's vengeful half-brother Juggernaut, Weapon X, and Professor Triton. Season 2 focuses on communicating conflict between the X-Men, Magneto, and Mystique. Beast joins the X-Men as a teacher of a new mutant are added to the ranks, including Iceman, Magna, Jubilee, Cannonball, Berserker, Multiply, Sunspot, Wolfsbane, and Bam Bam, who soon leave the team and becomes a natural character. The season also introduces Angel, who uses his powers to help people independently but chooses not to join the X-Men. Cyclops and Jean Grey closer, creating a love triangle when Rogue develops a crush on Cyclops, while Shadowcat and Avalanche begin dating despite being on opposite sides. I wanted to, before we get into all the X-Men, X-Men Revolution. This re-edition of X-Men features Cyclops, Jean Grey, Rogue, Nightcrawler, Shadowcat, and Spike as teenagers as they fight for a world that fears and hates them. X-Men Revolution is a series that ran from November 4th, 2000 to October 25th, 2003. It was the first series after the Marvel Animated Universe ended. It was the second series and third attempt at a series based on the X-Men after Pride of the X-Men. The series was put in production following the release of the original X-Men film. The designs were initially inspired by the first appearance in the comics, despite consisting of a different lineup. Character design Stephen E. Gordon admitted to having purposely changed the looks of each character for individualistic, unique faces and figures that would make everybody stand out from each other. His art style for the series was inspired by the art of Adam Hughes, whose art he enjoyed for the different facial designs for each. X-Men Revolution is the third longest running Marvel series. By the time of the fourth season, the series would no longer have the episodes titled aired on screen. During the time that the third X-Men film, X-Men The Last Stand, was coming out, the series was rumored to be making a return. The X-Men of this series are Charles Xavier, Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, Spike, and Beast. The Brotherhood Mutants, we already did that. The New Mutants were... yeah, we did that too. The fourth season introduced some last few characters that served for the episode plot, including Gabby, David Hale, Leech, and Danielle Moonstone. This was reportedly done in an attempt to bring the show more in line with the comics. The series' last episode, I want to say ASCENSION Part 2, revealed some character designs of the X-Men as adults. This includes Cyclops, Colosso, Rogue, Shadowcat, Nightcrawler, X-23, Storm, and Beast. The last costume and design were believed to have been planned for the fifth season, though Steve Gordon confirmed that they were designed when the producers and show staff knew the fourth season was the last one. Character design for Emma Frost and Psylocke, Psylocke, has surfaced since the show's end. Another character that they haven't brought up so far was Gambit was in a few episodes as well. Strategy X, Summer Scott, Jean Grey are attending a Bayville High School football game. Jean is taking pictures while Scott watches from the stands. Scott notices Toad picking pockets and her heads down to stop him. He gets there in time to save Toad from 3 football players who plan on beating him from stealing. Scott loses control of his powers and causes an explosion. Xavier and Storm show up as soon after to smooth things over. Charles Xavier adjusts some thoughts and the heads off to the train station to pick up Kurt, who's come to join the school. Meanwhile, Logan stops by a store on his motorcycle, heading from the mansion. Sabretooth is shown watching him from a distance. Back at the mansion, Xavier introduces Jean and Scott to Kurt, and then talks to Scott about the exposure he caused. In the first episode of the first season in the hit television series X-Men Revolution, it aired. Scott Summers and Jean Grey team up in order to find a way to save Kurt's life. In the last episode of the last season of Marvel's hit television show X-Men Revolution 52, um, X-Men Revolution 10 Things You Never Knew About This Animated Series. I thought it'd be fun to add some fun facts. The creators weren't happy with Mystique's initial design. X-Men Revolution had a completely different look and feel when compared to the original X-Men cartoon of the 90s and even the comics. At the time, the character looked a bit unrealistic in appearance and body type, yet it was the villain Mystique appearance in the first season that made the designers do a redo of her costume and overall design beginning in season 2. The new design turned out to be a hit and lasted until the end of the series. The character Spike was created for the series. For a cartoon as critically acclaimed as what X-Men Revolution was, it isn't surprising that it added to the X-Men lore. In fact, the cartoon not only added key backstories, but also a new mutant by the name of Spike. I actually really like Spike. The character who appeared as a teen on the cartoon series had a prominent role in many of the plots on the show. Spike was a high school student who just happened to also be the nephew of the popular X-Men heroine, Storm. X-Men Revolution was originally going to have at least 5 seasons. Well, it was hinted that season 4 could be the show's last season, causing the creator to sew up everything remaining unfinished plots by the end of the finale. That said, X-Men Revolution creators still pushed for a 5th season. Sadly, in the end, the 4th season finale turned out to be the last time it aired. It would have been picked up for a 5th season. It would have been considered of 13 episodes and would have continued to focus on mankind's of mutants. X-Men Revolution comics. It isn't shocking nowadays for popular cartoons that are at the end of their run to pick up or continue their stories in comic book form. In many of their series, this has been proven to be a great way to end fan backlash when it comes to a popular show being cancelled before its time. However, X-Men Revolution success didn't carry over into the comics, even though it did create some original plots and character design. Due to low sales, the comic was cancelled only after 9 issues. Episode changed due to attacks. The tragic event that took place on September 11, 2001 changed how many in the U.S. states view graphic images on their television and even in their movies. Shortly after attacks, X-Men Revolution was airing an episode, Growing Pains, that is seen where Avalanche saved the lives of Shadowcat from falling debris. Fearing that the scene would come off as insensitive due to the recent tragedy, censors and the network decided to cut the scene altogether from the episode. The show's creators were pressured by Marvel to show more superheroes. It is not secret that Marvel loves an all-encompassing, expanding universe that details every Marvel superhero that was ever created, which makes sense since it has been so successful in marketing movies with various different teams of superheroes attached to each project. A Squirrel Nightcrawler? One consideration in X-Men universe is Nightcrawler's faith in God. In most universes, he has Catholic roots that he clings to, and in some cases even goes as far to convert others to his cause. However, in X-Men Revolution, this was toned down so much that it was basically non-existent from the cartoon. No real reason was ever given by the network to change in the character overall religious prophecy, which normally wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't so paramount to Nightcrawler's identity. X-Men Revolution's Buffy the Vampire Slayer connection. Well, on the surface, Buffy the Vampire Slayer comes from a different background with a vastly different audience, yet that doesn't stop the writers of X-Men Revolution from making comparisons to Shadowcat with Buffy Summers. The cartoon was too dark for the network. I actually loved this cartoon when I was a kid, so there is always a certain level of darkness when it comes to superhero shows. There has been, since most cases, is a personal tragedy that leads superheroes to be who they are. Jean's college major was similar to her character's career in the movie. There are so many positive aspects of writing for a series with clear and identifiable characters, since with all of the history, all writers had to do was pick and choose which story they wished to elaborate on. Sadly, that also comes at a price, since at the time X-Men Evolution, first X-Men live-action adaptation movie, had hit theaters, leaving the writers to have to make Jean Grey a genetics major, since in the movie she was a doctor in genetics. And that is it. That is a lot of